Okay, so we are live on YouTube. We are also recording this WebEx just in case there's technical difficulties with YouTube.
Guys, can that camera focus on me? I'm just wondering if that camera can focus on me, then I can sit. I don't have to sit next to see here. Not that I don't like that idea, to be clear.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do need a camera on the podium for the speakers that are there in person.
Okay.
And I don't see that right now.
Yeah, there's one that's on the podium, and then there's another one that is over top of the podium, which is pointing back towards the meeting. So I just wondered whether that can be enabled. Stanley's looking into it right now.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll just make do. Okay. I may have to share anyways, okay. Okay, Sabrina, I think we're ready to go.
Okay, and in the meantime, staff can just work on having the camera on the podium. Through you, Mr. Chair, we can get started.
Okay, are we live?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. First off, we're starting a little bit late this morning. We've had some technical difficulties, so our apologies to everyone, and thank you for your patience. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. My name is Larry Clay, and I'll be chairing today's session. Panel members today are Phil Ghosh, Zahir Baihat, and Gary McKay. And our Deputy Secretary Treasurer is participating remotely is Sabrina Salatino. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio only. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must first fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually will need to submit a written request for a decision by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Today, I'll call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and take matters into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I'll comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept new materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and make a presentation to the committee on the application. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we would call on the speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation, and when all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent has an opportunity to rebut those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion, and the application will be taken into committee for a decision. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are there minutes to confirm from the last meeting?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and panel members. Yes, the minutes from February 26th hearing are ready for adoption.
Okay, I will move adoption of those minutes. Do I have a seconder? Phil? Mr. Ghosh seconds. All in favor? Those minutes are approved. Panel and staff, any declarations of interest in this morning's session? See none. Any files to be closed, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer?
Through you, Mr. Chair, see none for this morning.
And deferral requests for this morning?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are two deferral requests. Item number 2, 19 Garnet Avenue, file number A0563/24 TEY, as well as item number 3, 202 Lippincott Street, file number A0938/24 TEY. We can probably deal with both of those
Great, thank you.
at this time.
All right, we will move to item number 2, 19 Garnet Ave. This is an application to convert the existing two-story detached dwelling into a triplex by constructing a complete third-story addition and a rear three-story addition with decks, platforms, and a staircase leading to each level. The existing rear one-story ancillary building will be demolished, and there'll be a total of 3 residential dwelling units on this lot. Committee has before a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revised zoning notice, red line public notice, 4 photographs of trees on the subject property, covering letter from the consultant, and covering a deferral request from the agent, and a rental housing demolition and conversion declaration of use and screening form. We have email correspondence from community planning and staff report from community planning.
Through the chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can I have your name and address, please?
My name is Eloisa Rivera. It's for 19 Garnet Avenue, M6G1V6.
That's great. Thanks very much. You're seeking a deferral. Could you just share with us the reason for the deferral request?
As advised by the city, our latest drawing or the design that we had submitted triggered a couple of additional variances which were not identified on the public hearing notice that went out to the neighbors. Therefore, we need to request a deferral to the next schedule to allow for the new notice to be circulated to the community per the Planning Act requirement.
Great.
Thus, I am here to kindly request your...
Thanks very much. All right, panel, does anyone want to move deferral? Mr. Byatt?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. Is the applicant aware of community planning's comments? And has there been discussions with community planning? And that's a question to the agent.
I am Eloisa Rivera.
Yeah.
And I had been in close contact with 2 agencies of the city planning, and we had been given a new ZAP review, and we had also submitted that. So we had on the 2 new variances that will be given out to the community for the neighbors.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Mr. Byatt, did you still want to move deferral?
Yes.
Okay, motion to defer by Mr. Byatt. Have a seconder, Mr. Ghosh. All in favor? Thank you. All right, we move on to item number 3. You can call up. Yeah, thank you. Item number 3 is 202 Lippincott Street. This is an application to alter the existing 3-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear exterior basement entrance and a staircase leading to the 2nd-story deck. Also to alter the existing 2-story ancillary building by constructing a 3rd-story addition with a rear balcony and a rooftop deck. This ancillary building will contain one laneway suite abutting Ulster Street, and there will be 6 residential dwelling units on this lot. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of the subject property, covering letter from the agent, a deferral request from the agent, previous decision numbers affecting the subject property. You have an arborist report. We have staff reports from Urban Forestry, Community Planning, and Transportation Services. We have correspondence and support from 310 Spadina Avenue, 195 Lippincott. Interest in correspondence from Concern by 183 Lippincott, and correspondence in opposition from 96 Ulster, 181, 198, 202 Lippincott, 83 Ulster, 85, 100 Ulster, and the Harbor Village Residents Association. We also have correspondence in opposition from 202 Lippincott, Unit 3. Do we have the agent with us?
Through the chair, we're still trying to locate the agent.
Okay, thank you. Are there registered speakers lined up to speak to this item?
Yes, we have 3 registered speakers online.
Okay.
Should we hold this item?
Yeah, if we're having difficulty, are we trying to call the agent?
I'm trying to locate the agent, but I cannot call the agent because there's an extension, and we can't call extensions.
All right. Thank you. We will stand this item down. To those folks who are online waiting to speak to this item, we'll ask for your patience. But know that given that there's a request for deferral, all we'll be asking you for today is whether you support or not the request for deferral. We won't be speaking to the merits of this proposal today. All right, can we go back then to item number 1? Call up number 1. Thank you. All right, item number 1 is 224 Augusta Avenue. This is an application to convert the existing 1-story non-residential building into a 2-story mixed-use building by constructing a complete 2nd-story addition and a rear 2-story addition. The existing eating establishment will be maintained on the ground level. There will be 1 residential dwelling unit on the 2nd level with access from the ground level. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 9 photographs of the subject property, support materials from the agent, and we have email correspondence from Transportation Services. Mr. Benkowski, are you there?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, committee.
Good morning, sir. We have no speakers registered for this item. Jonathan, I wonder, could you just give us a very, very quick overview? I think this is fairly straightforward, but given that this is now, I guess, a heritage district, can you just give us an overview?
Absolutely. I did submit some support material. As you mentioned, Mr. Chair, it is fairly straightforward. It's a 2nd-story addition. Again, that will be recessed from this front covered area, which does encroach into the city boulevard right now. That is proposed to be removed. I've also submitted some pictures of kind of what that character of Augusta is to the north and the south, which does contain similar 2-story structures. And we can actually see it on that first picture there. A couple of the odd variances. Yeah, we can just see that the 2nd floor of the adjacent property to the south as well as to the north has a similar built form of what we're proposing. There are a couple of odd variances. If we continue on to that first page of my presentation material, variance number 1 and number 4 on the public notice addresses the first floor being used for residential uses. In red, we can see here the only portion is the stair that accesses the 2nd floor. So unless somebody were to essentially be dropped from a helicopter, this would be a variance with any development. The other variance I'd like to address deals with the rear yard setback. If we go into the pictures I've also sent, we can see this is somewhat of an odd lot where the adjacent 2 lots to the north both front onto Augusta itself, whereas the properties to the northwest actually front onto Nassau. So the rear of this property right now is essentially surrounded by walls. And if we just continue down, I believe it's 1 more page, 2 more pages, please. We can see a picture of what it presently, just go 1 more down, please. Yeah, so we can see presently what it looks like in the rear yard today, where the proposed addition is. So right now it is essentially entirely blocked in, which again, we're essentially mirroring that built form as we see on the right of where those buildings extend back to. This was originally deferred due to a requirement of site plan control. That requirement is still there, but it took us about 8 months to go back and forth with planning, finally to arrive at a solution that was go to committee of adjustment, get your approval. If it's approved, come back and we will essentially sign off on it. It really took some time by saying, listen, again, this is a heritage district. As you see, there is no comments from HPS, but it is just a one-story addition that, in my opinion, is very minor and really fits the character of the neighborhood that surrounds it. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Panel, any questions? See none. Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Let's take this into committee. Phil?
Yeah, I'll move to approve this application. For the reasons being that I tend to agree that it's in keeping with Kensington Market to add to have that mix of retail and residential. To add a second floor in this location creates a built form that's similar to the properties on either side, as was mentioned. And I also had kind of a thought that it was odd the variance is required for the residential use on the ground floor when it's only access to the second floor. The only thing I can think is that it's either an overzealous examiner, or perhaps if the entrance to the residential unit were on the second floor, it wouldn't require that variance, but I don't see that difference as being a reason to not grant it. So for those reasons, I move to approve.
Great, thank you. Motion by Mr. Ghosh to approve, seconded by Mr. Byatt. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, committee.
Stanley, do we have Lippincott yet? Through the chair, we still are trying to locate the agent for that item.
All right, we will then move on to item number 4, and we will combine item number 4 with item number 5. Thank you. Item number 4 is two 236A CEDRIC Avenue. This is an application to construct a new 3-story apartment building containing 8 residential dwelling units with 2 front and rear 3rd-story balconies, 2 front porches, 2 front basement walkouts, and 2 rear ground floor decks. This building will be located on 2 undersized lots. Committee has before it a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of trees on the subject property, covering letter from the agent, several decision numbers affecting the subject property, arborist report, presentation material from the agent, tree inventory plan, and an urban forestry permit submitted by the agent. You have a staff review from urban forestry and email correspondence from community planning. I'm going to just acknowledge that we're dealing with item number 5 at the same time, which is, I think, identical to this one. So I won't read that into the record. I'll just go ditto. All right, do we have the agent?
Through the chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers.
That's great. Mr. Race.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning. If you could just speak up a bit, Craig, please.
Is this better, sir?
Marginally, but we'll make do. Hang on a second. Panel, does anyone need a presentation on this one? Or it is maybe just a short one, given it is a double application. Craig, can you just give us there's no one registered to speak on this one, but could you give the panel just a quick overview of the application, please?
Yes, sir. And perhaps if staff could pull up my supporting material. This is relatively straightforward in spite of the list of variances. This application is purely to extend the depth of 2 adjacent multiplexes to the current as of right depth permissions for this residential zone category. These buildings were approved in the past prior to the multiplex bylaws being in effect. And we are now applying to have the depths now meet the as of right permissions. The reason we're here is because the previous approvals included a tie to site plan. So we're essentially here to get all the variances that were already approved maintained with essentially no new variances, and just simply not have a condition that we be tied to site plan or a condition that it be tied to the new site plan.
And the reason being not tying it to site plan?
The former site plan had shorter depth buildings. So the buildings are they're as of right depth for this category, but they are deeper than the previously approved site plan showed.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Panel, any questions?
Yeah, I have
Phil?
one. So one of the other conditions it looked like was that there was some condition about constructing a fence. And so if that was something important when more people were before the committee, I wouldn't want to necessarily lose it. Is that a condition that we should reimpose or shouldn't? I wasn't on that previous panel. Maybe you can just put my mind at ease about that condition.
I was actually not the architect at that point. However, we are accepting of all the conditions that are a part of this. It's just simply the depth that's changing. So everything can be maintained, sir.
Okay, so if we were to put that condition back on as per the previous one, but not tie it to site plan, that would be acceptable?
Yes, we're also happy to remain tied to this site plan if the committee prefers it. That would be fine, although I don't think necessary.
Okay. Thanks. That was my question. Just trying to find the previous decision to...
Gary? Gary? You're muted, sir. You want to unmute? Gary, you there?
I am.
There you go. Okay.
Okay. So I get that. Craig, you just wanted to understand the history a little more. So there was a consent to sever at some point prior, I take it, and it got turned down, I think, even at the T-Lab stage?
I believe initially there was a minor variance application that was refused that was then approved at T-Lab. That was in 2021. Additional minor variances were added in 2022. Permits were issued for these buildings in 2023. So there's a fairly long history, and forgive me, I was not a part of that.
Okay, sure.
But that's my understanding of the approvals history.
And no consent then, because you said those approvals seem to be the variances.
Okay. Anything else, Gary?
No, thanks very much.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Let's take this into committee. Anyone want to take a Zahir?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. I looked at this application, thought it's actually quite an interesting one. They have had previously before the committee, and some adjustments have been made. There are no real issues that I can see. The only conditions that have been applied to this is for forestry number 3 for 236A and forestry number 1 for 236B. Beyond that, there are no conditions attached to this application.
Just intervene for a second. Sabrina, the agent indicated that the previous conditions that were on a previous approval still stand. Do we have to repeat those, or are they baked into the previous approval?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would impose the conditions as part of these two new applications.
Okay. Do you have them?
I do have them, and that was kind of the substance of my question. Could staff maybe pull up E3 in the materials, previous decision E3, and then scroll down to the conditions section?
I think it's this Well, that's today's. Oh, is it?
I might be, it's the second E3, sorry.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair.
And then,
If you go to the T-Lab decision and you scroll down to where it says minor variance condition, it does impose a condition about the fence, and we can use that same wording as part of these decisions.
but if staff could actually go to the next one, the 2024 committee decision that followed. So if you scroll, could you scroll down, please? Okay, so here are all the conditions. So there was a forestry condition, there was a repeating of the fence condition, there was a transportation condition, and there was tie to site plan. Part of why the application is before us is to remove the tie to site plan. My suggestion would be for us to approve it with conditions 1, 2, 3, and 5 from this previous decision and not condition 4.
He said he was okay at tying it to the new site plan.
He said he was okay, but there's no one here asking for that.
Yep.
And
I agree.
Through you, Mr. Chair, let's just be mindful of the reports that have come in for these applications. So for item number 4, urban forestry is requesting condition number 3.
okay.
Right.
And for item number 4, urban forestry is imposing condition number 1.
Right.
Yeah,
So perhaps
agreed.
those 2 conditions can be imposed. And then if you wish to impose the fence condition, because Transportation Services has submitted their comments and they didn't have any conditions to impose.
Okay, that's helpful. So given that they no longer see a need, or they would have asked for it if they still saw a need, is what you're saying, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct. So for item number 4, we would impose urban forestry number 3 along with the fence. And then item number 5, we would impose urban forestry number 1 along with the fence condition,
Okay. Phil,
if the committee is to approve.
right. Phil, does that satisfy you?
That would satisfy.
Okay, so here you actually moved this motion. Are you okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Staff, have we got those conditions? Everybody got them? We're good? Okay. All right, you can continue then.
So I moved the motion to approve number 4 and tied forestry number 3. And sorry, the second part was the other condition you mentioned was
The fence
the
condition.
fence condition.
Okay.
And number 5, forestry number 1 and the fence condition.
Okay. All right, I think that's got it. Motion by Mr. Byatt to approve with those conditions. I have a seconder.
Sure.
I'm going to go with Mr. McKay. All in favor? Okay, you have your approval for number 4 and number 5. Thank you. Lippincott yet?
Through the chair, we still don't see the agent online for that item.
We don't have a contact number for the agent?
Unfortunately, we can't reach him by phone. We've tried sending several emails.
Okay, again, for those waiting to speak to item number 3, 202 Lippincott, we will continue to reach out and try and connect with the agent. In the meantime, we move to item number 6, 14 Indian Road Crescent. This is an application to alter the existing 2-story detached dwelling by constructing a front 1-story addition, which is basically a porch enclosure. Committee has before it a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 5 photographs of the subject property, 2 photographs of trees on the subject property, tree inventory plan, and a staff report from community planning. Okay, do we have the agent
Through the chair, we have the agent online and 1 registered speaker.
in opposition?
Oh, sorry, that's the owner, my mistake. So it's just the agent.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning. I am Imad, the engineer who did the drawing. I think the owner is online also. He can speak instead of me.
Okay. Just hang on a sec, sir. Panel, does anyone need a presentation on this one? It's a straightforward porch enclosure? Okay. Sir, we don't need a presentation today. We've read the material. We're familiar with your application. Is there anything you'd like to share with the panel before we take it into committee for a decision?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's go into committee. Anyone want to take this one? It's pretty straightforward.
Sure. I'll
here?
go with it, Chair. Thank you. Yeah, this is a very straightforward application. This is a single variance. The only conditions applied to be applied are from planning, and that is that the construction be substantially in accordance with site plan A1, the north elevation A3, and the south elevation A4, and dated January the 9th, 2025.
Okay, motion by Mr. Byatt to approve this application. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Ghosh, all in favor? You have your application, or you have your approval, sir. Thank you. Move on to item number 7. Number 7 is 1830 Bloor Street West, Unit 1303. This is an application to permit the construction of an ancillary structure, an outdoor terrace and pergola for Unit 1303 within the existing residential building. Committee has before a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevation, 17 photographs of the subject property, a letter from the High Park Condominiums Management Office, and the copy of the site-specific zoning bylaw for this property.
Through the chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers.
Okay, good morning. Mr. Frasca.
Giorgio, you've been unmuted.
Hello, you hear me?
Yes, we can, sir. Your name and address,
Okay,
please.
great. Yes, my name is Giorgio Frasca from Frasca Design and Planning at 2781 Highway 7.
Okay, sir, just hang on a second. This feels like a fairly straightforward application. Does anyone need a presentation? Okay, sir, we've read your application. We're familiar with the material. We don't need a presentation today. Is there anything you'd like to share with the panel before we take it into committee for a decision?
No, that should be sufficient.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would just note it's a spectacular view from this terrace.
Yes, it is.
So I can understand your application. All right, we're in committee. Anyone want to fill?
Sure. So I appreciated the materials showing the views from the street and that this won't affect anything of that sort, because that could have been a concern, but there's no shadowing impact, no impact in that sense. And I also very much appreciated the letter from the condo board saying that they were on board, pardon the pun, with it as well. So given those factors and that this is quite a small matter to add a pergola to a terrace, I would move to approve it.
Okay, motion by Mr. Ghosh to approve, seconded by Mr. Byatt. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Through the chair, we do have a representative on behalf of the agent for item number 3.
Okay, let's go back to item number 3, 202 Lippincott. You call that up. Okay, this is an application to alter the existing 3-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear exterior basement entrance and a staircase leading to a 2nd-story deck. Also to alter the existing 2-story ancillary building by constructing a 3rd-story addition with a rear balcony and a rooftop deck. The ancillary building will contain 1 laneway street abutting Ulster Street. Did I already read this into the record? Does anyone remember?
Can't recall.
I can't remember. I'll do it anyways. In the absence and abundance of caution, I will read it into the record. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of the subject property, a covering letter from the agent, the deferral request from the agent, previous decision numbers affecting the subject property, an arborist report. We have staff reports from Urban Forestry, Community Planning, and Transportation Services, correspondence and support from 310 Spadina, 195 Lippincott. We have correspondence and interest from 183 Lippincott. We have correspondence in opposition from 96 Ulster, 181 Lippincott, 198 Lippincott, 83 Ulster, 202 Lippincott, 85 100 Ulster, and the Harvard Village Residents Association. We have correspondence in opposition from 202 Lippincott, Unit 3. As I read it, I realize I did read that into the record previously. All right, do we have the agent?
Rohan, you've been unmuted.
Good morning, sir. Hello, good morning.
Rohan, can you hear us?
Through you, Mr. Chair, are we able to call in Rohan?
Through the chair, we don't have contact information for Rohan, but we've just been informed that he will be speaking on behalf of the agent.
Through you, Mr. Chair, perhaps.
Hello.
Okay.
Hold on.
Rohan here.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hi.
If we sorry, sir. If we could have your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Rohan Walters. My address is 1292 College Street, Toronto, M6H1C6.
Okay, sir. You are seeking a deferral this morning?
Yes, on behalf of the agent as well. In order to, yes, I'm seeking a deferral.
And the reason being?
So in order to address the comments received by city planning and transportation staff and concerns discussed with the Residents Association in the area. We also understand that we have support from the Residents Association for this deferral. So we would like to request that the matter be returned to the March 26th committee if possible.
Okay, well, we can't guarantee that, but staff will try to get it on the earliest opportunity. All right. Do we have some speakers waiting to talk to this item?
Through the chair, just give me a moment here.
Okay. I'll need to take a 2-minute break. Yeah. I'll go for a couple.
I can change this one or that one. Oh. That's okay, because you have to change. I cannot come here.
Any luck, guys?
Are we okay? I will do what you say. Okay.
Laura, you've been unmuted.
Good morning, Ms. Boswell. Laura, are you there?
I am here. Yeah. Can you hear me?
We can. If I could just, for the record, have your name and address, please.
Yes. Sorry, Laura Boswell. I'm Unit 3 at 202 Lippincott Street, and I don't oppose the deferral.
So you're in support of the deferral. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Next speaker.
Caitlin, you've been unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. If you could give us your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Rule. I live at 85 Ulster Street, M5S1E9.
Caitlin, all I'm going to ask you this morning is if you support or oppose the request for deferral.
I support the request for the deferral.
Great. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
And we have Ms. Dexter.
Sue, you've been unmuted.
Good morning, committee members.
Good morning. If we could have your name and address for the record, please.
You betcha. My name is Sue Dexter, D for David, EXTER. My address is 97 Wilcox Street. M for Michael, 5S, 1 Charlie 9. I'm a member of the board of Harvard Village Residents Association. We support the deferral in hopes it's taken by the proponent as a chance to return to committee with minimal variances, or best of all, to conform to the bylaw and build as of right, as many others have in our neighborhood.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much. All right. Panel, let's take this into committee. So here.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is fairly straightforward, and hopefully the agent's able to resolve some of the issues that before them. So I'd like to move an approval for deferral.
Okay, motion by Mr. Byatt to defer. I have a seconder. Mr. McKay? Thank you very much. All in favor? You have your deferral. Thank you. We move on to item number 8.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. I think we need to take a 5-minute break. There is some issues with YouTube.
Okay. 5 minutes be enough?
Let's try for at least 5 minutes at this time. And if I can ask all members to turn off your videos and microphones. Thank you.
All right. We stand down for 5 or so minutes. Thank you. Okay. I think they've got me.
You get a chance.
Through you, Mr. Chair, are we ready to resume?
Through the chair, we're still working on some technical issues.
Through you, Mr. Chair, are we ready to resume?
I'm all set here.
Through you, Mr. Chair, can we resume?
Hang on a sec, staff, are we good to go? Sabrina? Oh, so, well, I see Gary here. Oh, Sabrina, did you hear that? Stanley says that, the YouTube feed was only showing the podium where our guests
I'm
are
not hearing
speaking.
Larry.
I'm not hearing Larry either, so.
Okay, so through the chair, the YouTube feed only shows the podium, but not the panel members' cameras. And the WebEx.
Just asking them to unmute the room.
Oh.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Okay,
So the
Through you,
YouTube.
Mr. Chair. So through you, Mr. Chair, we are going to proceed. Although we are having some technical issues with YouTube, we are recording the WebEx today. So we can use this WebEx later on to upload to the YouTube. So I'm asking staff to continue accordingly. Thank you. And for those that are here in person today, you may or may not be on video when you're at the podium, just because of the technical issues. But we will be able to hear. Thank you.
Okay, so for those of you who are here, got dressed up, I'm sorry. Okay, are we ready to go, Stanley?
Through the chair, we're ready to go.
Okay. First off, as everyone's heard, we've been having some technical difficulties. We apologize for those, and we beg your indulgence as we work our way through. As the Deputy Secretary Treasurer has indicated, while you may not be able to see some of us on video right now, you will be able to see it when the WebEx is uploaded to YouTube later today. All right, we proceed with item number 8. 19 ALMA Avenue. This is an application to construct a new 2-story ancillary building to contain 1 laneway suite with a carport and a roof access staircase abutting the laneway in the rear yard of the existing 2-story townhouse dwelling. There will be a total of 3 residential dwelling units on this lot, 2 in the main dwelling and 1 in the laneway suite. Committee has before it a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of the subject property, covering letter from the agent, 3D renderings from the agent, a tree protection plan. We have staff reports from Metrolinx. We have 1 letter in support from 22 ALMA Avenue and 1 letter in concern from 21 ALMA.
Through the chair, we have the agent in here in person, no registered speakers.
Good morning.
There we go. You can hear me okay now?
Yes, we can.
Mr. Chair? Okay. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Committee. My name's Maria Denegri from Denegri Bestside Studio. The address is 1088 Bathurst Street, M5R 3G9. I am the agent speaking on behalf of the clients, the owner, John Cavallari, who is here with me today, should the committee have any questions that are directed to him.
Great, thank you. I wouldn't mind just a quick presentation if you could.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so our original proposal, which is in the file, was for a 3-story laneway to accommodate 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. The owners, John Cavallari and Victoria, have lived in the community for some time. They currently occupy the main floor and basement of the main house, and the recent birth of their newborn precipitated a desire to actually build the laneway and occupy that for themselves. The neighborhood was of interest to us. It's 19 ALMA is just located just north of Queen and Dufferin. So it's an area that's unique. You have single-family residences with light industrial and then mixed-use condos. We did meet with community planning very early on, who stated a strong concern and objection to the 3 stories. So we did work with them quite extensively to reduce the proposal. The original proposal had 6 variances. We now have 2. And what is here before you today is actually a very collaborative effort with John Holmesy, community planning, who is in full support of the 2-story proposal, as well as the length, which is one of the variances. So we have two variances in front of us. One is building length. We are asking for 12.58 meters. And the second variance has to do with the roof access, which exceeds the allowable maximum by 0.6 meters. We did canvass the neighborhood. Like I said, John and Victoria are longtime community members, and he did speak specifically with the neighbor at 21 ALMA, who stated her concerns for the length, but understands that part of that length has to do with the fact that the site is so narrow. So it's the second floor that has the 2 bedrooms, bathroom, and stair that exceed the length. In addition, John did share with his neighbor the shadow studies, and I think she's come to realize that yes, there will be some shadow, but it's primarily in the early morning, and before noon, you are actually in full sunshine. We are located to the east of her property, and with the slight angle of the Toronto grid, she has come to realize that the impact is minimized.
Okay, thank you. Panel, any questions? Phil?
I'm wondering what the purpose of the rooftop access is.
It's because we, initially the 3-story proposal had a little mechanical room on the 3rd floor. And when we reduced the scheme to 2 stories, we got rid of 1 bedroom, we got rid of 1 bath, but we also actually altered the mechanical proposed equipment, and we have a unit which is actually on the rooftop. So the unit itself does not exceed the height, but in order to get up to the rooftop to service it, we need that stair access.
And so that's a heat pump?
It is a heat pump, but it's actually one that has the entire mechanism. It's actually a bit more of a commercial unit, so it has the entire mechanism outside.
And why not like an access hatch or a ladder or something of that sort?
I think it has to do primarily with just safety and ease of use. I mean, an access hatch would actually have significant implications in the hallway. As you've seen, the site is very narrow, and I think we've done our best to be as efficient as possible in our planning.
So I guess my concern and the reason why I raise it is
a rooftop terrace.
Exactly. It might be a rooftop terrace in disguise, and then there would be different.
And I spoke at length with John Homsey of Community Planning, and there's no intent right now to use it as a rooftop terrace. We have in the plan showed the security fencing just tight around that area. So.
Okay. And where is that on the plans?
It's, is it showing on there? Like just a line of fence right off the?
Yeah, security fence.
Yeah.
Fencing. Okay. Would it be acceptable to tie it to that rooftop plan?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was going to follow up on that. I had the same concern. I guess my question is, we see lots of laneway suites here. We don't often see rooftop mechanical on laneway suites. People generally look for other solutions that if it's a heat pump, I can presume, particularly given you're asking for additional length. I'm wondering if there's an alternative to that, because I share the concern about height issue and the staircase up to the 3rd story. And have you or your client considered any alternative to that?
Could you go to the 2nd floor for me, please?
It couldn't be installed on the ground outside?
A heat pump unit can be installed on the ground outside, but you need the air handler unit and duct work inside, right? We're not doing a mini split, because a mini split would require a bit of octopus kind of condition.
Yeah, I get that on the sidewalls,
outside,
yeah.
right? And because we are a row house condition, we essentially have the laneway, the lane frontage, and the rear yard frontage. So what we have opted for is a commercial grade unit that sits on the roof and essentially immediately sends the ductwork return and supply down a shaft, which we located on the roof plan, and then in addition have provided a furring out in the washroom area to bring the ductwork through.
Yeah, I get that. There always is the issue about access to a rooftop and being used for recreational purposes. There's also a noise issue when you put a mechanical unit in a very tight urban fabric like this. I appreciate that no one has written in opposition on that front, but it's still, I frankly still have concerns about the rooftop.
Around the noise, or the fact that it's going to...
It's a height, you're asking for a height variance.
Yes.
Is, again, even though I appreciate the shadow studies, it conceivably has a visual and potentially other types of impacts on the neighbors.
Right. I mean, I do think the visual is potentially minimized in that, I think that view is from the condos, like way down the road, or, sort of an aerial view. The reality is that elevations are a bit deceptive in that they flatten a view. If you're on the backyard looking at that unit at the laneway, that hatch stair is significantly recessed that you are not going to see it.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Here?
Thank you, Chair. I do have concerns with this. I know there are only two variances.
Yeah.
My concern really is with variance number 1. You're asking for 2.5 meters beyond what is allowed. So that's, I find, quite excessive. And I think where it begins to show is if one looks at the either the east or west elevations, and I think it was, I beg your pardon. I'm looking at east elevation A203.
mm-hmm.
The garage, the silhouette of the garage at the back, I take it that's the neighbor's garage.
Yes.
Not only is the proposed construction set fair distance in from the laneway, the rear yard's property line, because you've got a vehicle in a carport, but it really extends far into the garden. Your neighbor at 21 has raised concern. She hasn't come out in opposition, but she sent a letter of concern. I think from my perspective, if I was the neighbor, this to me would be a massing effect in my backyard, the neighbor's backyard. So I do have concern with it. I find it very difficult to support such an extensive or rather large request in variance number 1.
For the length, yeah.
The length, 2.5 meters beyond what is allowed.
Right, but so originally there was a fair bit of back and forth, and this was a length that community planning was comfortable with. If you look closely at the plans, our ground floor is actually quite compact. It's under the maximum allowable length. We're at 9.7 meters, I believe. It is the second floor, which essentially houses the 2 bedrooms, that requires that length because we have nowhere to go otherwise. I think in terms of our discussions with community planning, it's you go up or you go out, the length was something that they could, in theory, support, as opposed to the height. We could offer to bring the building closer to the lane, but again, the setback beyond the required 1 meter has to do a bit with the convenience to park a car. This is a row house condition, and the owners really do want to be able to pull in, unload the baby, unload groceries, and then and have the convenience of actually parking a vehicle. I think we alleviate street parking. In addition, I mean, maybe if you allow, John could speak to this, but he did have a conversation with the owner at 21 ALMA, and she understands the massing and is okay with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Gary, you're okay? All right, let's take this into committee.
I'll start. Despite my questioning, I actually personally think this is a fairly supportable proposal. My concern with the third floor more is that if it is going to be a rooftop terrace, I'd rather that be clear so that issues about the rooftop terrace could be addressed in the plans and neighbors would have their opportunity to object with respect to the terrace. It does sound, at least from the designer, that this is legitimately about the locating of mechanical items, and so if we tied it to the roof plan to have those security fences, it wouldn't really be that usable as a rooftop terrace, and I wouldn't find it that offensive. Part of my rationale is we're halfway in the first block in from Dufferin, right near Dufferin and Queen Street. So we're in a very dense downtown neighborhood, walkable to employment in Liberty Village, walkable to the new what was formerly Smart Track station that they're building at King Street and the rail corridor. So, the context in a neighborhood like this, and I think the renderings show it, is a context where something a little denser, than what might be an acceptable laneway suite in a different context, I think is appropriate. And if you look at the renders, you see the apartment buildings nearby. So the additional length, the additional height, it is a denser laneway suite, but I find it supportable in this context.
Okay.
That's my thought.
Is it here?
Thank you, Chair. I have the opposite perspective. I mean, it's a great idea to have a laneway suite, but the length, I think, is a problem for me. It's just, and we've heard the fact that it's a very dense neighborhood. In a dense neighborhood, having a structure that now exceeds it by what's allowed by 2.5 meters, I think is problematic. There's a massing effect, and the neighbors may be very nice and haven't complained, with respect to the owners and their need for additional.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the design is such that it's just too large. So it's one that I find very difficult to support.
Okay, thank you. Gary?
I would say that I support Zahir's point of view, so I think the variances are not minor.
Okay, thank you. I'll just weigh in. We all have different views on this one. I'm not as fussed about the length. My concern is the height. I don't see the justification for mechanicals on top. I think there's an alternative here, and that would reduce the staircase elevation. You're asking, even though it is set back and it's only a partial part of the array, an 8.5 meter item sticking out on top of a laneway suite in this area, I just don't. I think there's an alternative there somewhere. I think you could probably find a way to service the laneway suite without going on the roof.
And
so,
may I?
No, you can't.
Oh, okay.
All right. So I'll look to someone for a motion. So here.
I'll put one forward and see where it goes, Chair. So I'd like to move a motion to refuse this application.
Okay. Do I have a seconder?
Yes.
Mr. McKay, all in favor of that motion to refuse? Gary? All right. Opposed? Mr. Ghosh dissents. The application is refused.
All right, thank you.
All right, we move on to item number 9. 301 Riverdale Avenue. This is an application to legalize and maintain the rear second floor addition of the existing 2-story semi-detached dwelling, which was constructed beyond the limits of the authorized building permit. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Revised site plan, floor plans were received February 21st. We have red line public notice received February 21st. 6 photographs of trees on the subject property, a covering letter from the agent, Metrolinx permit from the agent, and an order to comply affecting the subject property. We have email correspondence from community planning, urban forestry, staff report from community planning, and an advisory report from Metrolinx.
Through the chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers.
Okay, good morning.
Ali Reza, you've been unmuted.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and member of the committee.
Good morning, sir. You're going to have to speak up quite a bit louder, if you would, please.
Is that better?
Marginally. Any closer to the microphone would be helpful.
Okay, I'll try my best. Sorry about that.
Okay. Can I get your name and address, please?
Good morning. My name is Ali Reza Napoti. Address is 120 Cranberry Lane, Aurora, Ontario, L4G5Z3.
Okay, thank you, sir. So you've submitted a red line public notice. So you're removing variance number 2?
That is correct, sir. The variance number 2 has been complied by site plan 1.1, which was submitted as part of the document for the previous application, building permit application, and it was approved. So we are complying with over 25% soft landscaping.
And have you cleared the order to comply from the building department?
We have submitted through the previous application and it was approved. The site plan was approved part of our previous application.
Right, so the building department is happy with you now. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. Mr. Jordan van der Hoven, the zoning examiner, email specified, and also it was stated that over 25% has been complied.
Okay, so to Sabrina, do we need to still have the description as stated to permit, given that he's cleared the building permit issues?
Through you, Mr. Chair, because there's an open OTC at the time that the application was submitted, I suggest we still leave it as to legalize and to maintain, because the applicant did have to pay a double fee violation because of this ongoing order to comply.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, thank you, sir. Panel, any questions? Okay. Sir, we don't have any questions. We're going to take this into committee. Anyone want to take this one?
Sure, I'll
here?
try this one. It's one of those situations that we come across frequently to legalize. So I'd like to move motion to approve the amended application. There's a forestry condition number 2. And I'm not sure this still applies, but it is their planning condition that requires constructions be substantially in accordance with drawing SP 1.1, it's a site plan.
Which is the revised site plan.
Revised site plan dated 21st February 2025. And also to add that for the record, the committee does not approve I forget how it
endorse
legalization issues or construction without
okay.
Thank you.
Motion by Mr. Byatt to approve with those conditions. I have a seconder, Mr. Ghosh. All in favor? You have your approval. Sorry, Gary, I will get to you. You're a half second behind Phil.
I won't play any computer games then with Phil.
All right, we move on to item number 10, 7 Leslie Street. This is an application to permit 3 one-story fabricated buildings on this site. Committee has before it copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 9 photographs of the subject property, a covering letter from the senior project manager, and a previous decision affecting the subject property.
Through the chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, committee. My name is Max Marchesin, and I'm on behalf of the City of Toronto on this application.
Great, sir. Just hang on a sec. Panel, fairly straightforward. This is temporary accommodation for workers. Anyone need a presentation? No. Sir, we don't need a presentation. The application looks pretty straightforward. We've read the material. We're familiar with what you're requesting. Before we take it into committee, is there anything you'd like to share with the panel?
No, sir. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to answer questions if there are ones.
Okay, thank you. Panel, any questions on this? No? No? Okay, let's take it into committee. Pretty straightforward. Zahir?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move approval of this application. It really is very straightforward and temporary, as you noted.
Motion to approve by Mr. Byatt. Do I have a seconder? I'm waiting for you, Gary. There you go. Mr. McKay. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you, sir. Move on to item number 11. 71 EATON Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing 2.5-story detached dwelling by constructing a 3rd-story addition and a front 2nd-story terrace, a rear 3rd-story addition with a ground floor deck, a walkout basement, a 3rd-story terrace, also to enclose the existing front porch for habitable space, and the existing rear patio will be demolished. Committee has before it copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revised site plan received February 13th, 2 photographs of the subject property, email correspondence from the agent, a design brief from the agent, a tree information plan, and we have staff reports from Metrolinx and community planning. There is correspondence and support from 38 Eaton, form letters and support from properties on Langfield, Fielding, Eaton, Woody Crest, Dewhurst, Plater Boulevard, and Eaton and Dewhurst. We have correspondence in opposition from 77 Eaton.
Through the chair, we have the agent online, and we did have a registered speaker, but we could not locate this person with no address.
Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning again, Mr. Chair.
Name and address, please.
Greg Race, 100 Lombard Street.
Thanks, Craig. So we did have someone who wrote in, I think was hoping to speak to this item, but we're unable to reach them. So just a very quick overview, please.
Certainly. If staff could pull up E4 design brief, I'd appreciate it. This application is for a 3rd floor top-up to an existing single-family home in the Riverdale neighborhood. Next page, please. It's located near Pape and Danforth, adjacent to Pape subway station, where there's also a new Ontario line station being constructed and fairly substantial intensification. Next page, please. There are 3 minor variances I'll just quickly run you through. One is for front yard setback. The majority of the home is beyond the required front yard setback, but a new partial enclosure of the existing porch triggers this. We've matched the neighbor to the north's front yard setback, and our appendix includes photos of enclosed porches on the street, showing that this is a common appendage for homes in the area. Next page, please. There's a main wall height variance, but I really view this as a technical variance because we'd mixed a vertical wall step-in on the rear with an angular plane on the front. If we had used angled roofs at both ends of the building, this would not be a variance, even though we're within the volume that's permitted. We've actually gone beyond that to show we could have gone taller, deeper, and been more massive on the third floor. However, staying within that really shows that we're well within what the bylaw contemplates. Next page, please. There's an FSI variance of 0.99. We studied the street and found that 15% of homes on Eaton, on this specific block of Eaton, will have a higher FSI than we are proposing. So this is not precedent setting. And as a matter of fact, 4/5 of the homes on the street would require some kind of FSI variance, which illustrates the dense nature of this core neighborhood. One more page. We've done a fairly comprehensive outreach program. We've contacted the councillor, been collaborating with planning staff, and the owners have done excellent neighbor outreach, which I would generally characterize as positive. Hopefully that's all the committee needs, other than I'll just simply say we attempted to pursue what I would not consider to be the maximum possible for this addition. This family needs more bedrooms and bigger living spaces because they have young kids, and a lot of them. So they need more space, but they don't want to move. They've been a fixture on the street for many years. And we felt that this was an optimal compromise between intensifying the lot while not being what I would consider greedy. We really tried to focus on contextual inputs to make sure we were conforming to typical height provisions and common depth provisions for the street. Thank you, sir. Happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Panel, any questions? Zahir?
Just one quick question. I think you've got a third floor rear balcony or terrace. I'm just wondering if that doesn't have privacy overlook issues on both sides. Would privacy screening be appropriate?
We don't think it would be necessary. And I'm sorry, if staff could please go back to our supporting material. Our proposed depth is actually less deep than the neighbor to the south. And there is a prevalence of upper level balconies. If you go to the last page of our material, there are multiple houses on the east side of Eaton and across the laneway on Woody Crest that have second and third floor decks with no privacy screening. Obviously, if the committee would like to impose that, we'd be willing to accept it, but we don't think it's necessary since we're not as deep as we could be. So it's not as though we're creating an overlook effect to the sides.
Perhaps.
Sorry, if you keep going 2 more pages, you'll see or 3 more pages, you'll see the photos. One more. There it is.
If I can just go back to, I don't see the proposed site plan. Just scroll up, I think it's a proposed site plan. And I think is it the south side or the north side that you've got a neighbor who's 71 Eaton. So on that side, you presumably don't need any privacy screening because you're abutting, you're in line with the property. But I think on the other side, and that's number 73, there certainly would be overlook from what I can see. So my thought would be that privacy screening on that side might be appropriate.
We would be willing to accept that.
Thank you. I'm not sure what side that is at the moment. Is it the north side or south side?
North side.
North side. Thank you.
Okay. Gary, did you have a question?
That was the very same issue because I'd seen an objection letter concerning overlook and suggesting an opaque barrier, etc. So really, what Zahira said has covered my point. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Nope. Okay, let's take this into committee. Gary, did you want to take this one?
All right, Chair, I'm willing to put forward a motion to approve this application, subject to, and I'll just I guess I'll say Metrolinx, unless it's simply an advisory comment. They asked for a corridor review and possibly a permit. So,
through you, Mr. Chair, I believe those comments are advisory.
Yeah, they're advisory.
Thank you very much. Then, fine, I would adopt, subject to the condition in the planning report, then that it be substantially constructed per 2 elevation drawings. And that's it.
Did you get the screening?
Correct. All right. And with respect to the third story balcony, that there be opaque screening on is it the north side?
Yes.
Yeah, correct.
Fine. All right. That's the gist of the motion. Thanks.
Okay. Motion by Mr. McKay with those conditions, seconded by Mr. Byatt. All in favor? You have your approval with those conditions, sir. Thank you. Item number 12 is 204 Markham Street. This is an application to alter the existing 2-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear 1-story addition. The existing 1-story ancillary building, detached garage, will be maintained and unaltered. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 7 photographs of the subject property, correspondence and support from 208A and 208B Markham Street, correspondence and concern from 206 Markham Street.
Through the chair, we have the agent online and 1 registered speaker online from 206 Markham. We were unable to locate the second speaker, also from 206 Markham Street.
Okay. Good morning to the agent.
It's Maureen Elizondo. I am the owner of the property. I'm representing myself.
Okay. We have someone who is speaking on this item, so we'll need a short presentation, please.
Okay. You want the short presentation from me?
Yes, we'll need a presentation from you so the panel understands your application, and and we have someone waiting to speak in opposition to this application.
Sure. I've also submitted 2 letters of no objections from my 2 neighbors, very close to my property, at 208 and 208A and 208B.
Yes, we have those.
Okay, great. So basically, it's a 200 square foot addition to my property. It's just a bedroom with a small bathroom that I wish to add on to the back where the existing deck is presently. I have a small deck, and then there's about another 250 square feet of grass that I would not touch. The grass part from the end of the deck to the garage would still stay there. It's basically just a 1-story, approximately 200 square feet, you can see from the drawings, of a bedroom with a bathroom. And the reason I would like to do this is I am a senior citizen. I live at my property, and my bedroom and bathroom are on the 2nd floor. And over the past 2 years, I've been diagnosed with osteoporosis, and my knees are continually getting more and more painful, and it's more difficult for me to go up and down the stairs constantly to my bedroom. I use the space to live in myself, or sleep in myself, and the present bedroom that I'm sleeping in on the 2nd floor, I could have a family member live there with me. She's also aging, and she doesn't have any problems with her knees or her mobility, and she could come and live with me instead of living far away and renting in Mississauga. So that's my plan. The green space I have is still there. I wouldn't touch the green grass at the back between the plan, where the plan ends and the garage is. And my front yard, after my veranda to the sidewalk, is all green space. I have a garden there. It's a beautiful garden that I maintain and take care of. I have more green space than most neighbors on my street. There's a lot of people on Markham that just have concrete yards in front of their house. It's just like interlocking brick or something. So I don't see this being any kind of a nuisance to anybody. It's only a first floor addition. It's not going to be shading anybody's backyard or causing any issues, in my humble opinion.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a speaker on this item?
Zhang, you've been unmuted.
Okay, and my name is Zhang Yuan, and 206 Markham Street, and as a direct neighbor to the 204 Markham Street, and I'm not absolutely against her idea or layout. However, based on the bylaw, and I received those things because this is violence, minor violence, right? Because as he permitted, the length is the 23.82 meters, and supposed to be maximum 17 meters. It's a 40% more than the bylaw allowed, and the floor space permit is 0.6 times area, and now her plan is 0.88 times, which is 46.7 extra percent. Well, I just be confused because this is a minor violence, and if over like 40%, is that called a minor again? And so since she has the mobility issue and safety is more concerned, gotta build it properly. And I also wrote a letter to the committee concerning about the setback. Setback is by law 10.10.40.70, and to keep the building safety and easy to maintain. So I hope committee can concern about these issues, and if she can abide by the minimum requirement, I have absolutely no problem with her plan, and will help her when she doing the construction. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Panel, any questions to the speaker? Nope. Okay, thank you, sir. If we could get the owner back. Maureen?
I'm here. Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
If you heard your neighbor, I wonder if you could take a moment to respond?
Sure. My response to this is I did speak to Jim, Mr. Wang, before, I had the courtesy to email him, and I showed him all the drawings, and he wanted to, take some time to look at it. But I do know that the zoning examiner determined it's not a variance. We did make an inquiry to that. So the only two variances that I'm asking for is to allow me to go to the end of that deck, because other people on the street have done additions, and some of them, as further you go down the street, are just as long. Immediately, not as long as what I'm requesting, like in my little block, from what I can see, but it's not a huge area. It's not going to be interfering with Mr. Wang's yard at all. It's just going to be a one-story bedroom for me as I age, so I can keep my home.
Okay. All right, panel, any questions of the speaker? Nope. All right, thank you very much. We'll take this into committee. Anyone, Phil?
We're looking at two variances here. That sort of FSI in this neighborhood I would actually be pretty common. And then we're looking at the depth, but it is limited to the ground floor. I think the applicant was entirely correct that if the zoning examiner didn't identify a setback variance, then there's no need for a setback variance, and that actually probably makes sense given that these two properties are attached. I think in terms of minor, to address the concern of the neighbor, and so that he does understand it's something we've considered. Minor is actually about impact. It's not about particular numbers or percentages of numbers. And so then if I look at the impact of this development on the surrounding properties, I do find that to be minor. So for those reasons, I would move to approve it.
Okay. It's a motion to approve by Mr. Ghosh. Do I have a seconder? Mr. McKay? All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you. All right, we move on to item number 13. This is 49 Woodlawn Avenue East. This is an application to legalize and maintain the rear ground floor deck, which was constructed without an authorized building permit. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 10 photographs of the subject property, and presentation materials from the agent. There is correspondence and support from 51, 47, and 81 Woodlawn Avenue East.
Through the chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Meher Manius, I'm the agent, number 1 Teakwood Grove, Toronto, M3B 2H9.
Great, thank you, sir. I don't think we need a presentation, but maybe just an explanation as to how the deck was constructed without a building permit?
Okay, actually, there is a building permit. So if you look at the first drawing that you have in front of you, the toned area is what was approved by the building permit issued in 2019. And what happened was the owner elected to demolish the westerly part, which actually projects more than 6 meters from the back wall of the house. And what happened was the easterly portion ended up being built 1 meter longer than what was approved. The reason behind the variance is the height of the deck above grade. It's 1.35 instead of the allowable 1.2. So if he had actually put it 6 inches lower, he could have built it twice as big and he still would have complied.
Right.
But there is a building permit, and if you scroll to the last page of the presentation material, we put an extract of the building permit.
Okay, and the reason this is before us is because the inspector on final inspection noted this discrepancy?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you. Panel, any questions? No? Let's take it into the committee. I think that's a reasonable explanation. Anyone want to make a motion? So here?
I'll take this on. I think this is a very straightforward explanation. Is quite adequate, and I noted in that there's also privacy screening on the one side of the deck. It's fairly straightforward, but I imagine that since it's the purpose is to legalize, that we need to add that for the record the committee doesn't endorse construction without.
Okay. Motion to approve by Mr. Byatt. Do I have a seconder? Gary? Mr.
Yes.
McKay seconds. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you. All right, we move to item number 14, which we will combine with item number 15. Whoops. Do I have the right ones here? 14 and 15 are the same? Yeah, okay.
They are, Mr.
All right.
Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I thought I had that figured. So, item number 14 is an application to alter the existing non-residential buildings by increasing FSI for commercial office use and to reduce the number of parking spaces. This site is currently undergoing 2 site plan control applications. And item number 15 is an application similarly to alter the existing non-residential buildings by increasing the floor space index for commercial office use and to reduce the number of parking spaces. And this item also has 2 site plan control applications before us. I'm just going to read what we have before us into the record. We have a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 2 photographs of the subject property, a covering letter from the agent, comparable decisions from the agent, email correspondence from I can assume the project's planner. We have email correspondence from Transportation Services and an advisory report from Metrolinx. The item number 15 is identical. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to members of the committee. My name is Eileen Costello. I'm a solicitor at Aird & Burles. I'm here on behalf of Allied Properties REIT, which is the parent company of the two sites. I would ask, Mr. Chairman, through you to staff, if you could just pull up the second page of the December 30th, 2024 correspondence. It has a colored plan on it, and I think, sir, this is going to be the quickest way for me to walk you through. So it's a December 30th correspondence letter from my office, Aird Burles. That's it. If you go to the second page, and if you could just zoom in on that middle of that page. There we go. Thank you very much, ma'am. So, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, what you have before you are the same application seeking the same variances, essentially, for two different sites. The first site is 47, 47A, and 49 Fraser. That's shown in green on this plan. The second site is 41 and 53 Fraser and 8 Pardee, which is the area in blue. The area in yellow is 135 Liberty Street. This committee approved the same minor variances for that parcel last fall. And so we're highlighting that to explain these are all sort of conjoined buildings that have been constructed over a period of about 150 years, but they are all separate parcels. And we wanted to confirm that 135, which has received the same variances, is not the subject of this application. So what you have before you is, this is a very large industrial complex. It's known as the Gillette Factory. It's been designated by the City of Toronto under the Heritage Act. And it is subject to a comprehensive rezoning and site plan and heritage set of applications, which have been approved by the City of Toronto. As the committee could likely imagine, working through the site plan applications and conservation plan for this site is proving to be a bit of a behemoth. And what Allied has done in the interim is come forward to upsize the amount of employment permissions it can have on the site and to regularize the parking. So what we're doing in both instances before you today, again, consistent with what we did last time, is as it relates to application number 1, which is for the properties at 47 to 49 Fraser, the green, we are seeking to increase the maximum floor space index for non-res uses to 2.67 times the area of the lot. That basically just maxes out the building. We're making no physical changes to the site or to the building itself. We're just redistributing the uses that were allowed. And what we're also doing is recognizing that although 33 parking spaces would be required, none are being provided. That's an existing condition today. The second application, which is in front of you, similarly seeks to allow for the 1.72 times the area of the lot for the office uses, as opposed to the 1.5, which is allowed in the bylaw. And in this circumstance, there are 49 parking spaces on the site, and so we're recognizing that those are there. It is a deficiency, but it's the existing condition. You have correspondence from Transportation Services indicating no concern, and we have worked with planning staff who frankly are pleased to see that someone's actually seeking permissions for employment and office uses. This is Liberty Village. It's a little unique. Despite the depression in the office market, Liberty Village continues to be a place where people want to have their offices. And Allied, as one of the largest non-residential REITs in the country, is very happy if people want to run their businesses out of their heritage buildings. So that's what we're here for today. I know you've had a long morning, so I'm going to pause and just see if you have any questions and just be here to answer those. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eileen. That was a very helpful presentation. Nice and simplified. Well done. Any questions? Phil?
So it all makes sense from your materials and your presentation. I'm just curious, what is the present use? I'm assuming it's an employment use, but just not an office use?
That's exactly right. There were media and television uses, which were separately zoned. There were artist studio uses, which are separately zoned. And because this predecessor bylaw limits the FSI to 1.5 for office/commercial, if we want to bring in any other office uses, any other commercial uses, we have to come before you and seek that permission. So we had done some minor updates over time on this site. I've been working on this site for like 20 years. And what we just decided was to allow the maximum amount of flexibility. We would just increase it to the size of the buildings, and that then allows Allied to respond as it gets requests for tenancies.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? See none, let's take this into committee. Phil, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So based on that explanation, I just was curious to understand why in an employment-only area there would need to be an increase in FSI to fit the square footage of the building, and that's been explained. I think the flexibility to keep employment use in this location is important, and I agree with what the agent said about the nature of Liberty Village being eclectic, and if people want to locate their offices there, all the better. So for those reasons, and certainly I think it's minor in the context of that area. So I would move to approve both applications, and I don't see any required conditions.
Okay, motion by Mr. Ghosh to approve requested variances for items number 14 and 15, seconded by Mr. Byatt. All in favor? Thank you for coming down. You have your approval.
Thanks to the committee.
We move on to item number 16, 61 Pendrith Street. This is an application to alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by constructing a complete third-story addition and a rear two-story addition with a third-story terrace above. Also to reduce the size of the existing one-story ancillary building, which is a detached garage in the rear yard. Committee has before it a copy of plan survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations received January 17th, revised zoning notice received February the 6th, revised public notice sent out on February the 11th, 2 photographs of the subject trees, previous decision numbers affecting the subject property. We have a tree protection plan, we have staff report from Urban Forestry and from an advisory report from Urban Forestry. There are letters of support from 58, 79, and 95 Pendrith Street, and materials and oppositions from 63 Pendrith.
Through the chair, we have the agent online and 1 registered speaker. The second registered speaker from 51 Pendrith Street was unable to stay online and will not be attending.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Paige?
Paige, you've been unmuted. Paige, can you hear us?
Hi, can you hear me?
Ah, there you are. Hi, morning.
Sorry about that. My name is Paige, Paige Reisha. I'm the applicant for this application. My address is 222 The Esplanade, Toronto, Ontario, M5A 4M8.
Okay. We have someone waiting to speak to this item, so we'll need a short presentation, please.
Yep, no problem. So my clients, they've been living in this house for quite some time, and they are a growing family, so they need to revise their current footprint to accommodate their growing family. So they are proposing a 2-story rear addition, which is only 10 feet from the existing house. You can see it there in that bottom left image, and there will be a terrace on top. So we're also building or proposing a 3rd-story addition over the existing footprint. So the setbacks that we're requesting are essentially what's currently there. The house is a little bit on an angle with the property line, so there is a slight difference because of that, but we are lining up with the back width of the house. Now, part of this application is to also remove half of the existing garage. The existing garage is huge. It's pretty much a 4-car garage, which is not needed for them. So they are proposing removing half of it, which also allows them to build that addition at the back. Yes, if you could just stay on the site plan, that's good. So you can see the extent of the garage that is going to be removed, and that will just be replaced by grass. So there will be lots of soft landscaping there. And I just want to bring up privacy screens. So it is noted, not on the site plan, but on the third floor plan, that there will be a privacy screen on the west side, which is facing 63 Pendrith Street. Sorry, if you could keep going. Thank you. Perfect. Yep, so it's on the west side. So that also might be better seen from the elevations as well. So if you keep going down in the sheet list, one more, I believe. Yep, there you go. So you can see in the background there, that will be the 6-foot privacy screen. And then I believe that's mostly it. We do have some crown molding on this elevation you can see here, which just wraps around the back terrace. So that is encroaching into the side yard setbacks on both the east and the west side. But other than that, we're really not asking for much more than that. Oh, I will also mention, so the main wall heights are going to be 9.55 and 9.58 on the west side only. And that is greater than the 7.5 meters that is allowed. But there is lots of precedence in the area. So we have 193 Christie, which is 11 meters, 210 Yarmouth Road, which is 10.12 meters, and 447 Clinton Street, which is 10.72 meters. So there's lots of previous approvals of that, and we're significantly under that at 9.58 meters. And then also our floor space index. So yes, we are increasing that beyond the permitted amount, which is 0.6 to 1.2. That's our proposed FSI, but there is tons of examples on the street. 79 Pendrith Street is 1.25, 13 Pendrith Street is 1.2, 193 Christie Street is 1.15, and 77 Pendrith Street is 1.06.
Okay, so just a little confused. You mentioned in part of your speech presentation that the side walls will be 9.55. Is it 9.55 or 9.58?
It's 9.55 on the rear, the front, and the east side, but because the west side is so close to the property line, we can't really have much of an eave there. So instead of having a traditional eaves trough, we are incorporating a hidden gutter on that side. So that means that the wall itself is a little bit higher. So that's why it's 9.58 meters.
Yeah, I'm not trying to pick nits here, but the agenda in front says 9.54. So I just want to be 100% accurate. For the front, rear, and side, it says 9.54.
Oh, yes, sorry, yes, 9.54.
Okay.
And then the west side is 9.58.
Right. And panel members have in front of them an agenda that has both a public notice and a revised public notice. I'm struggling to find out what the difference of the two are. Is there any difference in the revised public notice?
It's just the wording of the garage. So I just wanted to make sure that the garage was noted that it is existing. The previous notice, it wasn't very clear. So I wanted to just make sure that was right. So they reissued the notice with the wording to reduce the existing garage.
Okay. All right. Thank you. If we can have our speaker.
Barbara, you've been unmuted.
Hello, good morning. My name is Barbara McGibbon. I live at 63 Pendrith Street in Toronto, M6G1R8.
Great. You have 5 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I'm a little bit nervous, so I hope I present this clearly. So Garrison Creek is an underground river which flows past these two houses and winds around 61, flowing down Pendrith Lane. Although there were 3 letters of support, none of those neighbors live near 61. I am the closest person, and they are bounded on 2 sides by Pendrith Street and Pendrith Lane, so I would be the neighbor most affected. I'm concerned about, because of the proximity of the creek, I'm concerned about possible flooding and or structural damage. My house is 109 years old and is at the closest point is only a few centimeters from the other house. It's at the narrowest point, they're 39.37 centimeters apart. So the applicant proposes to excavate a basement extension, and that's very concerning to me given the proximity of the 2 houses. Back to the possible water damage, I've included a link in my materials to the city's own 2024 report stating the inadequacy of current sewer and drainage systems in the Garrison Creek area, that creek that winds around the front and down the sides of our houses. A further concern about possible flooding or drainage is that the applicant, as the previous presenter stated, proposes to increase the coverage of their lot, the built-on portion of their lot, exactly double the allowable. So that's very concerning to me. We've got an underground stream, we've got the proximity of the houses, we've got so much ground coverage, the city's own report. You'll note also, it's not a very good photograph, my apologies, you have it up there right now, that 61's roof actually overhangs 63. That's how close the 2 houses are. And currently, when there's a heavy snow or rainfall, rain and snow, there's a deluge onto my house. Now, if there's going to be a hidden gutter, that may be addressed, as the previous speaker, the representative, said. But right now, there's only a narrow concrete path between the 2 houses, and that can barely cope with drainage at present. But in terms of privacy, that's been addressed. If the rooftop terrace, I would ask that it have on 2 sides, both the south and the west, a high privacy fence, because people will be able to see into my backyard from the south as well. I didn't receive any materials to do with overshadowing, so I can't speak to that. Because the houses are so close together, I'm also concerned about safety during the construction phase, because, as I said, it's a very narrow pathway between the 2 houses to access my backyard. So those are my main concerns. I hope I didn't speak too quickly.
No, you did quite well. Thank you. Any questions of the speaker panel? I see none. If we can get the agent back.
Thank you. Could you please show the presentation material that was submitted yesterday? It does include some new shadow studies for Barbara. She had submitted a letter on Monday, but the neighbors had been my client, had been speaking with her since January. So these concerns were brought up then, and they had conversations with her about it. So we did, thank you so much for this. So let's first start with the river. So this was submitted by Barbara, and I think it's a good point to bring up, because I have had other projects where this has been an issue. So if we zoom in a little bit, you can see like a little orange square. It's really small, I know, but that's basically the scale of what this map is. So that's the rear addition. So that's the only area that will have excavation. The rest of the house is going to remain as is. So it is, assuming this map is accurate, it is a bit away from where the river lies. But to also bring up how close to the property line it is, there will be shoring on both sides, on the east and the west, which is 63 Pendrith side, which will keep keep safety matters in place, so the ground isn't going to cave in or anything like that. So if we can go to the next slide, please, that'd be great. So in referring to ground surface area, so Barbara had mentioned the lot coverage is doubling the permitted amount. I think there might be some confusion on lot coverage and FSI. So floor spacing index is, just to explain to Barbara, is the total square footage of the house. So that includes all floors, but lot coverage is only essentially the first floor and then any other ancillary structures that are on the lot. So just to reassure you, the work that is being proposed is actually going to increase the ground surface area. So we'll be at 63% because currently that garage is taking up a huge amount of space. So you're looking at 67% right now in its current state. So it will be better than what it is. And then also the entire backyard that's beyond the garage is going to be grass. So we're not even asking for a soft landscaping variance at all. We're meeting the city's requirements for that. And that's how the city measures drainage area. So I think we'll be okay for that. If you could please continue to the next slide. So as I mentioned, the west side is going to have the hidden gutter, but we can also provide icing cables, which would prevent any like ice damming and things like that if it were to arise. And this hidden gutter will have two downspouts, one at the front and one at the back, and all that drainage will be maintained on 61 Pendrith, all the runoff from there, and then go into the grass and into the ground from there. Next slide, please. Okay, so I mentioned the excavation scope is only at the rear. So it's only 10 feet plus a little bit of overdig to the south, which is the back of the property. And then the structural safety, obviously engineer's going to stamp on all of this, and we'll have shoring on either side. And then the insurance, yes. So the homeowners had extended insurance, or had extended, has spoken with the contractor and said that, you know, they're happy to provide proof of insurance, to meet with you, Barbara, to talk about, you know, how to manage the scheduling for the path so it's not closed in times that you need it. They're very open to working with you on that. So I hope that reassures you a little bit. If we can go to the next slide, please. And then here we have the privacy screen. So this is the view from the third floor. If you're coming right out of that back patio door, you can see the privacy screen there. But you can also not really see the backyard much. There's also there is a couple trees that are not shown in this image, but that will also provide a lot of privacy as well. Unless someone is right at the edge of the railing and peeking over, which is highly unlikely that someone would do that. I think this is sufficient as well for privacy. And then finally, the next couple slides are regarding the overshadow. So the existing house is much further behind 63 Pendrith. You can see in orange to the left, that is 63 Pendrith outline, and then blue is 61 Pendrith. If we go to the next slide, you can see the differences. So I've just only shown the morning because the sun is going to be on the east side in the morning, and that's where 63 Pendrith will be most impacted. But once you hit like 10, 11 throughout the year, there's pretty much no shadow because the sun is coming from the south at that point, or more southern. So this is the winter shadow, really not much of a difference despite the addition. We have spring equinox, again, no changes whatsoever
Paige,
there.
I'm just going to ask you to wrap up, please.
Oh, sure, yep. And then summer solstice, and then finally fall. And that's it.
Okay. Thank you. Panel, any questions? Nope. Oh, Gary? Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, it's just be a quick one. One of the lesser variances you're seeking has to do with roof eaves, and they're going to be 0 meters from the lot line. So, yeah, I'm often concerned about gutters and drain pipes. So you're saying some of that's going to be dealt with through a hidden gutter, and you're also willing to put icing cables on the roof.
Yes, correct.
So hopefully it can mitigate any additional water that's dripping over onto your neighbor's property.
Yeah, exactly.
Fine, Chair. That's all I have. Oh,
Okay.
There's an urban forestry condition, ma'am. You're aware of that, and condition about making a permit application to the city?
Yep, and we accept that. No problems.
Sorry, did you, are the de-icing coils part of your plans, or should we make that a condition?
That is something we proposed. We can include it on the drawings, on the permit drawings when we go to submit. I know it's not required for code, but that's just something that we were suggesting to help ease her minds.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Any further questions? I think we're good. Let's take this into committee. Anyone want to start us off? To here?
Start off and see where it goes. I think this is a very reasonable application. When I first saw it, I was concerned about soft landscaping in the rear because the garage is so huge, the existing garage. But it's good to note that with the reduction of the size of the garage in half, I believe there's something like 67.5% rear soft landscaping, so I think it works out quite well. The screening that's already in place is really only required on the one side. On the other side, they overlook the street, so there's no need for privacy screening there. So I really think it's a completely supportable application.
Great, thanks. And I thought the agent's explanation to the points that were raised by the next door neighbor were actually quite good, and hopefully will give the neighbor some assurance that many of the issues she's raised will be addressed. Anyone else, or is it here? Do you want to make a motion?
Sure, Chair, I'll turn that into a motion to approve the application. There's only one condition, and that's forestry 1.
Okay, motion by Mr. Byatt to approve forestry condition number 1. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Ghosh, all in favor? You have your approval. Thank you. We move on. Is everyone okay? Does everyone need a break? We're good. Can you keep on pushing through? Okay. Item number 17, 15 Warren Road. This is an application to construct a new 3-story detached dwelling with a covered front porch, a rear second floor balcony, a side third floor partially covered rooftop deck and roof garden, and a rear ground floor terrace and deck with an in-ground swimming pool. Also to construct a 1-story garden pavilion in the rear yard of the property. Committee has before it copy of the plan of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of the subject property, a covering letter from the agent, decision number affecting the subject property, comparable previous decisions, map of comparables from the agent, rental housing demolition and conversion declaration of use and screening form, shadow study from the agent. We have supporting materials from additional supporting materials from the agent, lots of additional supporting materials from the agent, email correspondence from the agent. We have a staff report from Urban Forestry.
Through the chair, we have the agent.
Hold on a sec, Danny. We have support from 18 Warren Road. We have opposition, correspondence and opposition from 17 Warren Road and 58 Clarendon Avenue and 17 Warren Road. 4 form letters in opposition from 621 Warren Road and 56A, 56B Clarendon Avenue. Materials in opposition from the owners of 17 Warren and also from 58 Clarendon. We have correspondence in opposition from MHBC on behalf of 17 Warren Road and 58 Clarendon Avenue. All right.
Through the chair, we have the agent here in person and 2 registered speakers in opposition. 1 is here in person, 1 is online.
That's great. Thank you. Good morning. Good afternoon, actually. Is your button on there?
Is it opening
That's much
now?
better,
There
yes.
we go. So I apologize for the size of the file. We'll try to clarify everything involved. My name is Betsy Williamson, architect at Williamson, 235 Carlaw, Toronto, M4M2S1. If staff could follow along with this document here, there are diagrams that explain the variances that I'm going to run through.
Just before you get started, I know you're going to do a presentation, but you've seen Forestry's recommendation about refusal?
Yes.
You're going to speak to that?
Yes, I can, absolutely.
Okay, and you were previously here and refused, right?
That was not me. That was a previous owner and a previous application.
Okay, fair enough. All right, you have 5 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. The house is for the current owners here, Adam and Lori Rothschild. As a family of 6 with a 3-week-old newborn, they're committed to raising their children in this house. To prepare for this meeting, Adam and Lori spoke to their adjacent neighbors. The neighbors to the west, south, and east all had productive conversations about the house, and we are working with them to ensure that they are comfortable with privacy and other issues they brought up. One neighbor wrote a letter of support, and the others wanted to remain neutral. The neighbor to the north initially told Adam and Lori they planned to sell their home, so conversations didn't continue, as they indicated their plans wouldn't impact them. However, they later retained a lawyer and organized opposition against the proposal. Their home is now actively listed for sale, which makes their concerns puzzling to these homeowners. Their folder has a lot of information, so I'm going to clarify and reinforce the truly minor nature of the variances. Side yard. We positioned the new house in the exact same position in the northwest corner of the lot as the existing house to maintain the rhythm of the houses on the street. Because of the additional length and the fact that the lot is skewed, the side yard setback gets smaller as you go east, ending up with a setback of 0.95. The width of the house is 0.33 meters narrower than allowed. Front yard setback, we are keeping the front wall of the house in the same location as the existing wall. We are improving the front yard condition by removing the existing garage that currently projects into the front yard by 6.33 meters. This means more visible softscape. There are 2 trees on the property that have TPZs that overlap this work. The first is a mature red oak with a large diameter. It's glorious. The overlap work in this case is softscape and about 3 square feet of hardscape walkway. We have an arborist working with us, and extreme care will be taken with this tree to protect it. We can move that small piece of hardscape walkway. It's very small. The second tree is a Norway maple on the property to the north. The TPZ overlaps the foundation of the existing below-grade garage. Because there's already foundation walls in place, the roots have likely grown up against it, so eliminating overdig in this area will be important to maintain the long-term health of this tree, and we're going to be working with an arborist during construction. For height, we have designed a gable roof to minimize the volume of the house, keeping the side walls 1.21 meters lower than allowed. To achieve headroom for the home offices, we have a peak that is 1.37 meters over height. It's about 2.3 square meters of area total. The shadow impact of this height is minimal, and the reduction in sidewalls reduces the mass of the house for both the north and the south neighbors. The main wall variance is over the allowable because the south-facing deck and garden is cut into the volume of the roof, so it has no additional impact relative to height than the roof itself. The decks, also shown in this image, the existing house has 2 platforms that also currently face south and east that total 29.3 square meters existing. We are reducing the total size of the occupiable decks in the proposed house, showing 4.68 facing east on the second floor and 19.87 with an 8.23 green roof and roof garden on the third floor. We have already spoken to the neighbor to the south on the corner about privacy and welcome more conversations with other neighbors who may have concerns. The length of this house is divided into 3 sections, 6.65 meters below grade at the street, which has no visual impact on the neighborhood, a 3.52 one-story breakfast nook at the east, which is 3.23 meters tall, only 6 3/4 inches taller than this 3.06 meter high fence that the neighbors at 17 Warren have already installed, meaning there is no additional shadow and 0 visual impact on the property to the north. This leaves a 19.61 meter long 2-story with gable roof house volume that is visually exposed to the neighbors, 19.61 meters. This is well below the numerous variances that have been approved in the neighborhood, and we have presented documentation to this effect. The depth variance, 100% of the 2.57 meters is in that breakfast nook space. We are proposing a house to suit a family of 6. The FSI we're asking for is 0.82, which is entirely in keeping with recent trends to these larger second-generation homes that are better suited to a larger modern household. Our expectation is that you will view these variances as minor because the form they are taking in this house is minor relative to the impact they have on the neighborhood. And in some cases, the variances are improvements to the built form. We want to remind the neighbors that it's not a comparison between what is existing and this proposal, but what is allowed in this proposal. It's not our intention to create any more space than these plans show, and locking the variances to the form is entirely appropriate and expected. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. I know you tried to address the tree issue, but can we just revisit that a little bit? You've seen a fairly significant report from Urban Forestry. They're concerned that you're either going to remove or damage irreparably a number of trees.
That's correct. I saw that report.
Is that what your proposal does?
No, it does not. We have an arborist report. So we saw the urban forestry report. We contacted our landscape architect that is working with us on this project. And we got an arborist report that came in this morning, so I was not able to put it into the material because it came in too late. The red oak that has a 0.8 meter diameter that's in front of the house is in good condition. It will be entirely protected by a TPZ. That one's very straightforward. We're proposing no work on that area except for about 3 square feet of hard paving, which we can move. It's just the walkway going to the front door. The trees that are on the north property line are in fair condition. They're Norway maples, which are not loved by the city. And because we have existing foundation wall in the location of the new foundation wall, the proposal by the arborist suggested that we keep the existing foundation wall in place, protect that root line that is currently there, and do the work south of that existing foundation wall.
So you have not represented this to the Urban Forestry Department, so they don't have the benefit of this arborist report nor this explanation?
They do not, and we are happy to work with Urban Forestry and have our arborists talk to them and figure out the best way to do the work on this property without harming any of those trees.
Okay. Panel, any questions? Quick one?
Just a quick one. So because you've got the forestry conditions in front of you, would a deferral be something that might be a better option at this stage so that you can clear out the forestry conditions and then move forward?
I would have to consult with the owners relative to that. Given the kind of the nature of the opposition that came in relative to the neighbors, one of the reasons why we didn't defer is to kind of clarify that we're not trying to further muddy the waters by bringing a lawyer with us today. I mean, that was sort of like the big piece of the conversation that we expected to have today. We know that we can work through the issues with urban forestry.
Okay, then let's move on, but that option, frankly, might still be on the table for consideration.
Yes, and I would talk to Adam and Lori at the end of this. If the building variances are approved, I would see that in good faith, understanding that we couldn't get a building permit without urban forestry, that we would be allowed to,
we understand.
To have these conversations.
The panel is at a bit of a disadvantage, I think you'll appreciate.
Sure.
Phil?
Sorry, just one more about the urban forestry report, though. So there's the red oak that you mentioned in the front yard, and then you mentioned the Norway maples in the backyard, but the forestry report also mentions this privately owned Norway maple right in proximity to where there would be the underground garage portion in the front yard.
Yes.
Is that one that would need to be removed? Or
no, that is the one that has so there's already an existing foundation because there is currently a garage existing in the front yard with foundation walls in the same location as the new garage that's underground. So given that that foundation wall exists, the roots are growing up to that wall, likely around the wall. And so what the arborist report mentioned was keep the existing foundation wall of the existing garage in place and work around it.
Is that existing foundation wall one that does go a full story below grade, or is it?
That we don't know because we haven't done the work in the area. So we haven't done any demolition. It's an existing condition.
Okay, but is there a basement below that garage, right?
There is not a basement below that garage. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, maybe we can go, thank you very much, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Maybe we can go to, I think there's someone here speaking to that. All right, come on up, guys. Afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is David Nelligan. I am the solicitor at Airden Bareless here on behalf of the owner of 17 Warren Road, which is the neighbor to the north. I have filed a presentation. If I can ask staff to pull it up for me, I'll walk through it briefly.
Is that in the subs, I think it's supplementary?
It shouldn't be supplementary. It was filed on time. It's a presentation from my office.
Right, got it.
It's a heavily papered file, so hard to find. This is the letter from the applicant, not from me.
Yeah, no, it's in H3D, guys. H3D.
Excuse me. That's the one. Okay, great. If you can just head straight to the second slide for me. This is a map showing 17 Warren Road in relation to 15 Warren Road. For this file, we did file a detailed letter setting out our concerns with the 8 variances being sought. We also coordinated with neighbors to produce a planning opinion from MHBC. Today, I'm only going to focus on the variances that are directly and immediately concerning to my client at 17 Warren. If you go to the next slide, please. As you know, there was a previous application. I was here 4 years ago before this panel, and it was a similar application dealing with length and depth variances aligned along my client's property line. Mr. Chair, you may recall that you were a member of that panel that day.
4 years ago, I can't remember yesterday.
On that day, that the committee unanimously refused these similar variances. And those refusals were reflective of the concerns raised by myself and other neighbors. And so it's disappointing that no lessons seem to be learned from that experience as we're here fighting the exact same fights today. Can you go to the next slide for me, please? I want to draw your attention on this slide to the blue outline, which represents the existing home. You can see that the proposed home is a significant change from the existing home. But particularly pay attention to the shape of the existing home, how it kind of mirrors the shape of 17 Warren to the north, moving away as the building gets longer, it moves away from the property line to create an amenity area that both properties enjoyed. It created a symbiotic relationship that is now gone with this current proposal. I also want to draw your attention to the rear of the property where a pool pavilion is being planned as well, and as a result, really the entirety of the property line is now lined with structures, except for a very small gap, 6-meter gap between that proposed pavilion and the pool, or sorry, and the breakfast nook. You can go to the next page, please. One of our primary concerns is with the proposed length and depth. This is nearly 13 meters greater depth than is permitted as of right, and I appreciate that the applicant has tried to explain that it's divided into 3. But even above the main, above ground, we're looking at 23 meters in depth, more than 6 meters than what is proposed. And really the concern is that this depth and length is aligned right along the property line, walling in the existing amenity area for the property to the north. And the side yard setbacks are not being respected here. This is not an existing building that's being extended. This is a new build. There is absolutely no reason why the side yard setbacks cannot be respected with this proposal. If you go to the next slide, please. We have mocked up an image of what we anticipate the impact of the proposal would be. And you can see this is a picture of the rear amenity area that is now completely walled in. It's our submission that this structure, imposing structure, creates a massing effect in the backyard, reducing light, increasing shadows, and obstructing south-facing windows. There's a clear adverse impact to the length and depth variances that are being proposed, with no consideration for step backs or relief to mimic the existing condition. You go to the next slide, please. As you've all pointed out, we are very concerned with the infringement of the tree protection zone for the tree that is on my client's property that is being infringed upon by a below-grade garage. We have seen no arborist report. We have had no discussion with the neighbors whatsoever. They have not sought consent for the injury or removal of this tree, and it is of significant concern. The forestry memo that you've already referred to not only points out these concerns, but points out that previous permits which were issued to which the applicant undertook to replace trees have not been honored. There is no proposal for the replacement of the trees for previous tree removal. You go to the next slide, please. In summary, the requested variances are not minor in nature. The applicant has made no attempt to create a sympathetic or sensitive proposal for the adjacent properties, and therefore is not desirable or appropriate. The variances don't meet the general intent and purpose of the city zoning bylaw, and the MHBC planning report, which is the only planning evidence before you, clearly sets out what those intent and purposes are. And MHBC has also created a neighborhood study which shows that the proposal does not meet the general intent and purpose of the city official plan. So while I've only focused on length, depth, and side yard variances, it is my respectful submission that all the variances before you should be refused. And we look forward to the applicant perhaps coming back with a more sensitive design.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Is someone from MHBC here? The other?
MHBC is not here. Mr. Dennis Wood, solicitor for one of the other neighbors, is here also speaking to the MHBC.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to, thank you. You've referred to their report, so that's why I wanted.
We commissioned their report along with one of the neighbors and filed it for this committee's consideration.
Okay, I understand. Thank you. Okay, do we have our next speaker? Thank you very much, sir.
Dennis, you've been unmuted.
Thank you. Can I be heard?
Yes, we can hear you. Name and address, please, sir.
Dennis Wood, sir. I'm a solicitor with the law firm of Wood Bull, LLP. A municipal address, 65 Queen Street West, Suite 1400, M5H2M5. And I am representing Cynthia and Ian Webb, the owners of 58 Clarendon, who have their rear yard abutting on the proposed 15 Warren property.
Okay, sir, you have 5 minutes.
I would appreciate if staff could pull up our presentation, my presentation from, it was filed on the 26th, there it is, and also have on hand the Williamson presentation that was called As of Right. They could pull it up. I'll need that later, not right away. First point, this is the second application. The committee refused this. This application is insensitive to the concerns expressed at that time by my client and also accepted by the committee. That application had 2 stories, did not ask for a variance for FSI. Number two, this property, 15 Warren, is in a unique location. Unlike any of the other so-called comparable properties, it affects my client on a side to backyard circumstance and affects 17 Warren on a backyard to backyard context. There is no other property application referred to that meets those conditions. Number three, there is no justification for the variances for the size. Going to 0.82, 571 square meters. If you look at the floor plans, you will see that they are space rich, extraordinarily large spaces that could be reduced meaningfully to achieve a reduced length and a reduced density to bring the mass down. In regard to length, I had adopted the submissions of Mr. Nelligan. I have filed in my submission considerable material dealing with length. Simply today, could I move through this? Would you mind just moving into the next slide? There we go, next one. You will see the previous application was a cantilever. The main floor was only 17.81 meters, and the second floor was 22.39 meters. Both of those lengths were less than was applied for by the applicant, but as you can see, the mass and impact of that building was considerably less than the proposal, yet it was refused by the committee in 2021. As Mr. Nelligan said, apparently no lessons learned by the new owner applicant. I'm not dealing with setbacks. I'll deal with platforms. If we could move further to page 29 of this submission, so I can deal with the platforms. It's page, it's number 29 in the okay, platform, go back please. There. All right, two platforms being requested. One massively in excess of the 4 meters squared permitted, the second being twice as large, and no variance requesting two platforms, which is inexplicable. Please move to the next slide. All right, this is the taken from the applicant's plan. And that's the yellow line property, or the yellow area is the larger 19 square meter area. And it sits beside a meditation room that's like 40 square meters. It's just an amazingly space-rich property. Anyway, move to the next one, please. That's what's the proposal before 2021. Small balcony, met the requirements, sensitive to the neighbor. Move to the next one, please. Move to the next. The applicant has said that there was to be a privacy screen to eliminate views. That has not happened. The applicant has also said that they intend to discuss with my client impacts on their property. Not happened. No outreach to my client whatsoever, so I don't know what that representation is all about. Next slide. So to achieve the architect's intention, which is to eliminate views, we have requested that there be appropriate, that it be made less in size and appropriately hidden. Next slide, please, to show the drawing. Please. Next slide. That's how it could be done. Increase the railing up one more, actually draw the roof over, and that's another drawing to achieve that objective. So in conclusion, my client urges that the application not be approved at this point. If a refusal, it appears, it would result in some more sensitive treatment to my client's interest. and would also be sensitive to the decision made by the committee.
All right.
unanimously.
Thank you,
Lastly, not desirable for the appropriate development of the land.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your patience and let me run over, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you very much. All right, ma'am, welcome back.
Hi.
I would just put to you, got some fairly significant opposition, and we have still, as a panel, some concerns about forestry. Have you considered what direction you'd like to take?
I'd like to address the concerns on the building.
Okay.
Great. Could you bring up the diagram that we submitted after reviewing this report, which has the adjusted length of the proposal? So there's some misinformation in a number of the diagrams. First, let me start with Adam and Lori did meet with the owners of this property that was just presented on Clarendon and passed off to them renderings that show the house, view of the house from the backyard, as well as a section that shows the screen that is actually mandated by the City of Toronto. We can't not build a privacy screen. So issues of privacy can be a further conversation if the owner of that home is willing to speak to them, but they have actually met with them and had conversations about it. I can't really talk about the 2021 proposal. That was not, it is something that was refused. The second floor cantilever is meters longer than our second floor with gable roof. So I think what is kind of easily being ignored is the fact that the proposal needs to be measured against the what is as of right. That the length here, I can't really read that because I don't see all that well. So we added a clarification note there that the length of our second floor is 19.61 and that the 22.39 proposal is actually smaller than was actually in the decision. So this diagram is incorrect. The notion that the two balconies was clarified by city staff. We do have the right number of variances on the table in front of us. And I think, we also submitted precedents for our length. And we know that 0.82 density on a lot that's 150 feet long in this neighborhood is not overbuilding. So again, I'm going to state that we declined to bring a lawyer to this meeting because we don't want to perpetuate all of the muddying the waters, the misinformation that's happening. We are really clear that when you look at the form of the house that we're proposing, that the variances are actually minor. If you were to bring up the sun study, there are slivers of shadow that are added, not big chunks of shadow. To address the council behind me's presentation, the accessory building in the back is not part of the variance application. It's as of right. The roof of the breakfast nook, of which they have a breakfast nook also on the back of their building, is 6 3/4 inches, a meter away from their fence that they built that's about 10 feet tall. You won't see or get any shadow impact from any of this, any of that extended length beyond the 19.61 meters of the house. You can see the shadow study here in front of you. I'm sure you've already looked at it. It is minor slivers of shadow that are added to the existing piece, which would be as of right.
Thank you, ma'am. Panel, any questions? Questions?
Yes.
Bill?
So I take it from your response to the neighbors' concerns that there isn't a desire to defer. I would put it to you that different panel members might have different concerns. Mm-hmm. My primary concern is with the forestry concerns and not as much with the massing. I think for me, and I won't speak for the panel as a whole, I think your shadow studies speak to that, and these are large lots that have a lot of space around them. But the length and depth variances, forestry has highlighted for us, and we don't have your arborist report in front of us.
I understand.
That these are concerns for the surrounding trees, including that Norway maple at the front that's in very close proximity to the foundation. So I guess I have two different questions, and I'll ask both of them at once, and then you can kind of address both of them. One is, would you consider modifying the variances sought to eliminate the length that is associated with the underground portion of the garage that sticks out towards the front? Because I think that would address the tree concern to a certain degree. Or two, since you're not looking for a deferral, what are your thoughts on the scenario where you might get the variances that forestry does not have an issue with approved, but not the variances that forestry is recommending to the committee we deny?
That would be acceptable, the second question, because we know that when we have a great relationship working with urban forestry. We know that we have the right team. We have hired a landscape architect and an arborist, and we are very happy to work with urban forestry on any condition that they may have about the existing trees.
Sorry, you're misunderstanding what I was posing. I was posing, how would you feel if we approved, the height variance, the exterior main wall variance, and the FSI variance? There might be the platform variances that urban forestry takes no issue with, but we denied the balance of the variances, the length and depth variance and the side yard variance that urban forestry is recommending.
So we would have to go to TLAB to get those approved then?
In that scenario.
Okay. Yes, I mean, any approval of the variances that we're currently seeking, I think is positive. And we're happy to work with urban forestry in a further TLAB scenario to keep going on this project, because we know we can get there.
I see. Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? I'm just going to say, from my perspective, Phil brought up the concern that I have, and it really is the forestry stuff. And the panel's at a bit of a disadvantage. I in terms of kind of overriding what we're hearing from urban forestry, and you'll appreciate that council is increasingly concerned about canopy. They're increasingly concerned about the state of our trees across the city, and I fully appreciate there are some Norway maples which are kind of weed trees, and I get that. But in the absence of, having an arborist report before us, and in the absence of urban forestry having the benefit of seeing that arborist report and having further discussions with you, I find it personally kind of hard to overlook that. And I think that causes me some difficulty. I often see when you get a total tear down and a rebuild, the argument I think one of the lawyers indicated was about the setbacks. I mean, it's fairly easy to comply with the setback if you're going to be building a brand new house, right? So I think from my perspective, given that there is a great deal of angst from your neighbors, and I don't expect necessarily that any further discussions would resolve those, but maybe there might be ways in which you and your client might be able to at least mitigate some of them. But in the absence of that, it's the forestry thing that I can't get past, quite frankly. And so my suggestion, quite frankly, if you want a refusal and go to TLAB, I think the panel could do that, but if a better solution might be to defer this and have an opportunity to consider these things, get forestry on side, and come back to us.
Yes, they're nodding yes. So we will take that second option and defer so that we can work with urban forestry.
Okay, and do what you can to try and talk to the neighbors too.
They would love to have conversations.
We're not going to litigate it here. But thank you for that. So,
thank you
any
so
further
much.
questions, panel? Okay, let's go into committee, and maybe the deferral seems to be a pretty good path right now.
Yeah, and even if the deferral is short and they don't speak with urban forestry, which would be not ideal, at least when they come back, we would have this arborist report.
Yeah, well, it sounds like they've got a good relationship with urban forestry. I'm sure those discussions will take place.
I don't know in the circumstance that we need to discuss it that much more. I think the deferral is the right option in this case, given the urban forestry concerns, to give them a chance to deal with urban forestry. So I would move on that basis to defer it, with the purpose being for further discussions with urban forestry.
Great, okay. Motion by Mr. Ghosh to defer, seconded by Mr. Byatt. All in favor? You have your deferral.
Thank you very much. That's great.
All right, we have one more item for this morning's session, so we will move to it. Number 18, 457 Mortimer Avenue. This is an application to construct a new one-story ancillary building, a detached garage in the rear yard. The existing two-story detached dwelling will be maintained and unaltered. Committee has before it a copy of the survey, plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revised site plan, received February 24th, 2 photographs of the subject property, and presentation materials from the agent. We have a staff report from community planning and 3 letters of support from 174 Linsmore and 455, 459 Mortimer Avenue.
Through the chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee
A
members.
little louder, please, sir.
Hello?
That's
Oh,
better,
can you hear
thank
me?
you.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Name and address, please, sir.
I'm Kyuta Kim, who is the agent on behalf of the property owner, and address is 2347 Kennedy Road in Scarborough.
Okay, do we need a presentation or you want to go straight to questions, guys?
No presentation necessary, I don't think.
I think not. So, sir, we don't need a presentation this morning. We've read your material. We're familiar with your application. There may be some questions. Hang on a second. Is there a question? Is there here?
Just a question. I believe there's a revised site plan, so I'm just going to try and pull it up. Okay. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so I think this is the one that you've replaced the concrete approach to the garage with permeable pavers.
Yes, yeah, we had a existing interlocking and a concrete pave, so we replaced with the permeable pavers to improve the landscaping condition.
And will that include the area just below the deck, I suppose? I think it's a deck.
It's kind of porch, yeah.
Yeah, the porch.
There,
So,
yeah.
what I can see on the revised site plan, I take it that all the pavers that are presented are they're all permeable.
Yeah,
Okay, so we can.
the site plan that we indicate is all permeable, and the rest of it is going to be the grass for the soft landscaping.
Okay, because I think planning has that as a condition as well, so that's good. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? No? Okay, let's take it into committee.
Thank you, Chair.
Here?
It's a very straightforward application. It's a garage that's being built. I think it's, I don't know if it's a replacement. It doesn't indicate whether it's a replacement or a new one. In any event, there is a planning condition. Planning condition is that construction be substantially in accordance with the revised site plan drawing A1.0 received February 24th, 2025. And that's the only condition there is. So I'd like to move approval with that condition in place.
Okay, I just make an observation before someone seconds that. I frankly wouldn't normally support a garage that exceeds the height. It's just a little pet peeve of mine. The only reason I wouldn't oppose it this time is because the adjacent garage is of a higher height. And I don't think it would dramatically change the view sheds for the surrounding neighborhoods. But normally, I often remain unconvinced that anyone needs a garage that's higher than 4 meters. But in this case, given the context, I'll support it. So I will look for someone for a second.
Yeah, that's an interesting comment, but I'm happy to second Mr. Byatt's.
All right, motion to approve by Mr. Byatt with that condition, seconded by Mr. Ghosh. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, you have your approval. And that ends the morning session. We will return at 2 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, panel members. Please turn off your videos, microphones. We'll see you at 2 p.m.